course I forgot. I literally just said I was going to start Web Captioner. And then I didn't. See, I look at the things on my checklist. And then I just don't do them.
What's a checklist?
What is a checklist? What even? Oh, and it's not giving me an option. There we go. There we go. Bye, Mark. Hey, how are you? I had to get the captioner going. I swear I didn't forget it. Hey guys, how are y'all doing? We are live here with our mental health pro guest, Josue Cardona. Cardona? Is that how you say that? Yeah, okay, yeah, good. Excellent. And I'm super excited to have him on the show today. We are going to have some live Q&A and be talking about resilience today. So that's something that we have talked about before. You didn't forget it. I see it, and that counts. There you go. We've talked about resilience before, but it's always nice to bounce ideas, back and forth between a couple of people, and also to just continue talking about them, because things do change, things do evolve, and your understanding of them evolves as well. So always good to have that discussion, always good to have that feedback as well. We have a queue today. I just opened it up, so if you have a question for Josue, feel free to type in !Q and follow it with your question. It is one question per person until it's cleared out of the queue, but if you have a question and you don't put it in there, it's fine. We'll probably see it. Comixpedia, how are you doing? Yes, fluffy kitty. As usual, Tyrion is going to be all up in my business because that is just how he is. And also, he's been a very rambunctious rascal today. With that, let's see what else. There is a giveaway going. If you're interested in anything related to the giveaway, be sure to check out my Twitter. It's on there. All right, Kat, you're going to go down here.
What are you giving away?
I am giving away a game code for Shantai Half Genie Hero. Ooh, I can't remember the name of it now. But it's a game code through Steam. So every time I get a subscriber, I do a game code giveaway. And all of those I get through Humble Bundle. So it's already benefited charity, and now it can benefit those who subscribe. Nice. And the community in general. So It's on there. Feel free to enter that if you would like. It is totally free to enter. Good times. Okay, so with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you so much, Josue, for being on here with us today. For everybody in chat, Josue is the founder of Geek Therapy, which is an affinity-based model of mental health and behavioral intervention. In other words, geek out to do good, which I love very much. He runs the Geek Therapy community as a place where geek culture and mental health are celebrated. So that is fantastic, and we're super glad that you're here. Like I said, we're going to be kind of talking about resilience a little bit. If someone subscribes while one is already going on, does it start another one? Yes. So I actually rotate through 4 different giveaways. I rotate through a Twitter giveaway, which is a 3-day, a Twitch instant giveaway, which is you have to be in chat at the time to even think about winning it, because you won't even know that it happened. A Gleam.io giveaway, and a subscriber giveaway, which we did a subscriber giveaway. There's a subscriber giveaway right now, by the way, also in, dang it, Cat, in Discord. So if you're a subscriber, make sure that you're in the Discord.
I'm enjoying watching you and your cats.
Oh my gosh, this cat, he is not normally this in my business. He is not normally. Link, how are you doing? Welcome on in. Okay, so I want to hop right into it and just say that, first of all, Geek Therapy is an amazing passion project. Like, everything that I've seen about Geek Therapy is positive, is wonderful, is fantastic, and I am so impressed. So I would love to know what inspired you, and kind of why do you do what you do with Geek Therapy?
Yeah. When I was an intern, a counseling intern, I worked at a mental health clinic where we worked with kids ages about 6 to 11, so small kids. And they had a lot of games at this clinic to use with the kids. A lot of, board games, things like that, lots of toys. And one day in the game room, I found that there was a Nintendo Wii. And I got really excited. So I asked my supervisor if we could use it. And she immediately said, absolutely not. We're not using video games with kids.
Oh my gosh.
Basically one of those video games rot your brain kind of things. We can't, we're not going to do that. That was the previous supervisor who bought it. So I went home that day and I started I started a website so I could be better prepared to have those conversations when someone would tell me that, video games are bad. I was like, no, actually, I'm pretty sure they're not. But it's like a hard conversation to have, Once you practice more often and you have more data to back it up, it's a lot easier. But I was an intern. I was young. It was my supervisor. I didn't know what to say. So I started this website and started collecting information. And over the years, I joke a lot about how, I want to start Geek Therapy the band, and I want to make Geek Therapy the movie, and we have so many things. There's a Twitch channel, we've got the Discord, we've got podcasts, we've got a podcast network, we've got so many things going on. There's an academy that we're building. There's just a lot of stuff, and really our mission is to. It has a few different purposes, but in general, the general idea of if we're professionals, right, we're mental health professionals or any helping professionals, we can use our geeky interests and the geeky interests of our clients to help them. And also, like we were talking about before we went live, how therapists are people too, social workers are people too. So I think it's great that you have us on here so you can see that we're just normal people who we're not necessarily that special. I think everybody has an expertise. I think everybody has something that they really know very well. And it just so happens that those of us who went to school for mental health can talk about that.
Yes.
I think it's great to combine professionals and non-professionals. I learn more from the non-professionals than from the professionals because it's true. All of these insights that we get from our clients, from people who there's PhD level and master's level, but you have bachelor's level. There's so many people involved in mental health who are on the helping side, but then the people that we're helping, just the insights that we get are so valuable, and we can bring them to other people, and it's just great. So we are trying to build spaces where everybody can come together, like your show. We can bring people from both sides and help each other out and ask questions and learn from each other.
Yeah.
So that's I think that kind of covers it. And the model itself is something that over the years has evolved, and we've learned from each other as well. And it's again, I've started using the word affinity-based because it's what is that thing that you really care about? That thing, you don't think about it, it just speaks to you,
Yeah.
At the beginning, I used to talk about how it's we're speaking our client's language, and really that's what happened with the kids at first. It was these kids were talking about video games, so why wouldn't I bring up video games so they could understand things in that context?
Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. If you have a client that comes in and starts talking about video games, I know that my personal therapist, she's not a gamer necessarily, but she and I still talk about streaming and gaming, and she's I'll mention something and she'll go, I'm going to have to look up a little bit more about that just so that I can understand what you're talking about. I'm yeah, if you want to, great. If not, it's okay too. But with a kid especially, they're not going to say, this is something that I want to talk about. If they just mention it offhand, I know at least with my kids, if my kids just mention something offhand, I'm all right, maybe I need to learn a little bit more about this so that I can talk to them about it whenever I need to.
Well, even having your therapist say, what, I'm going to look that up. I don't know what that is. That feels good. That feels
It really
good.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
Ugh, you do Twitch? Ew. That's the worst feeling in the world, especially from someone who's there to supposedly help you.
Yeah. Yes, you don't want someone in your support group to be no, this is off limits. We're not going there.
Yeah, or I don't care.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Doesn't feel good. Yeah,
that's the worst. I've talked about that in the context of my husband not being a gamer and my kids, and that they don't have that shared language, a shared connection. It's not that I play all the games that my kids play, but I at least will ask them questions about Animal Jam or Fortnite or whatever it is that they're playing at the time, where they know that they can't really go to him to ask those questions. So he and I have talked about that quite a bit before. I've talked about it on stream as well. Bite Mark has a question. How do you feel about internships as a process, paid versus unpaid? Are you talking specifically for mental health? Is that what you're asking? I think that's what she's asking.
It's all slavery, whether it's mental health or not. Honestly, I hate the fact that it's a rite of passage, but it's part of the process, and I don't like it. I don't agree, but I mean, if that's what your program does, if that's part of your, like, for some of us, it's required.
Yes,
for others,
right.
it's like, it's something you do in the summer so you can get experience, so it'll help you get a job later. And it depends on the industry. But yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan of unpaid internships. No.
Now, what about a paid internship? Do you feel like that's kind of an entry-level type thing, or do you feel like it should just not even be a thing?
No, yeah. I mean, I think internships are important. Unpaid internships, no. But I think if you can get paid, that's way better.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree for sure.
Like, we need to learn, and like learning with people who are more experienced. Like, even if they're just a little bit more experienced from them, you know, we're gonna learn something. So it's important to have to be able to walk through. Actually, on our Discord, on the Geek Therapy Discord, I was just like right before we recorded, someone was talking about their internship and the trouble they were having, and it's like, I think it's something that a lot of people go through. You start at a new place and they tell you, no, everything you're doing is wrong. We do it differently here. This is the way to do it. And it's like, that's part of the process. That's just having a new job. You know, you have to unlearn what you knew before and learn to do it the new way. And I mean, it's not fun. Internships, I don't know. I mean, I had great experiences, but like, it also sucked. I mean, I think
that's fair though. That is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that we have an internship at our company that it is paid, and then a lot of those actually do convert over to full-time employees. The nice part about that is, you know, if you do this internship and then you convert over the next summer to be a full-time employee after you graduate, like it's nice to not have to unlearn all of those things. But I know that that's not the case in quite a few companies. So
yeah.
We have another question by Comicspedia. Of all the people you've met through podcasting and con panels, whose story surprised you the most?
Whose story surprised me?
Thanks for that question.
The most. I don't know. There's one story that jumped out at me immediately. Maybe it's because Comicspedia is asking it, but Comicspedia and I went to Colombia, the country, once to talk about Comicspedia, you know, his model, and Geek Therapy, my model, to a bunch of psychologists over there. It was awesome. And I remember one day we went to like a comic book signing because there were also like artists there and stuff. I remember this one guy coming up to me and telling me he must have been like early 20s, and he said, you know, I had a really tough time socializing, like making friends, and like I didn't like talking to people. But then I played Persona 3. And in Persona 3, you have to talk to all these people. And I realized that if I didn't talk to these people, I couldn't progress in the game. Mm-hmm. And it made me realize that if in real life I have to talk to people to progress, like there's no, like I have to talk to people, because if not, things won't get done. I won't be able to accomplish things in real life either. And it was just so like clear to him. You know, it was like he had this revelation, and it's a story that is always, I don't know, it's the first one that came to mind. I don't know if it's the one that surprised me the most, but
yeah,
I like those stories.
That's great. And honestly, like all right, let me think of how to say this all the way, because I don't have a hard time talking to people. I don't have a hard time talking to people online, talking to people in person, anything like that. But you put me in a group with crowds and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go to this panel and not say anything.
Yeah.
There's an Adam Runs Everything episode about jobs. A big chunk was about how most unpaid internships are actually illegal, very informative. I love that show, by the way. Adam Runs Everything.
He ruins everything, though. It's just...
It's true. It's true. You were about to mention a book. I apologize.
No, but you were mentioning about, like, feeling, you know, like, big groups of people.
Yeah.
No. But if you go, you know, like, one-on-one it's fine. I don't know if you've read this book, but I think it's Susan Cain's Quiet. And it's about something, the title is something, The Power of Introverts. And it basically talks about how for people who, she defines introverts as people who are drained by those experiences. Mm-hmm. And I can totally relate to that. Like if there's a whole bunch of people, that's really draining. Like I'm slowly walking back like that, like the Homer Simpson meme, like into the,
right, you know? Into the bush.
That's me. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm out of there. Yeah.
I have not read that one. I was writing it down. So Susan Cain, Quiet, Power of Introverts. Yeah, I'll definitely look that up, because that sounds not only. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Quiet, Power of Introverts in a world that can't stop talking. I love it. Yeah. Hey, look, and a link. You're on top of it. Thank you, Bite Mark. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Bite Mark. Yeah.
So backing up a little bit further, who or what inspired you to start in the field of mental health in general, not just Geek Therapy?
So when I was in high school, I took a psychology course, and it blew my mind. I don't know. Like that's it. That's pretty much the story. And then, but I didn't study mental health in college. Like that was in my undergrad. I studied completely different, and mental health ended up being my second career. But that class that I took in high school just stayed with me, and there was like a transition period, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. I don't like what I'm doing now. I'm gonna go do the thing that I wanted to do before. Let me pursue that.
Yeah, I like it. A lot of the professionals that I've talked to, they have some sort of story from when they were kids. So it's interesting even to hear you tie that to high school and a class that you took in high school. I know that me personally, I wasn't interested in what I do now until I was actually already doing it. But psychology and psychiatry really seems to be one of those fields that you get into it pretty young for the most part. Not to say that you can't start it when you're older, not to say you can't have a change once you hit a certain point. I'm not saying that at all. But just the kind of motivation that comes from when you're a kid, I think is a fantastic tie. Yeah,
I mean, like that's pretty much my interest in psychology, but the idea of like you can be a psychologist of many different things and not be a therapist.
Right.
I think the therapist origin story is mine is very common. It's like I could have used a therapist, or my family could have used a therapist when we were a kid, and I wanted to help people not go through what I went through.
Right.
And that was a big motivator, and that's a big motivator for a lot of people in helping professionals, in helping professions.
Yeah. Well, that's my motivation is something that my family went through for being here on Twitch and talking about mental health. Like, I'm not a mental health professional. You can see the not a pro up there. That's me. But I'm just kind of want people to talk more and to be to like understand that it's not this taboo subject, and it's okay to get help, and that people like Josué are very helpful.
The whole reason why we started our Twitch channel was to provide exposure to us, so that we could answer questions. But to be completely honest, we have a bot that just every now and then provides some resources.
Yeah.
And like that's it. Like that's really it.
Right.
Like if you come and you watch us and you don't ask a single question, the fact that you were able to, like, that thing popped up for you and it was there, whether you needed it or not, it was there. Like, we're putting that out into the world. Like, I love what you're doing, and it's what we try to do, just create more opportunities to have that information available and facilitate those conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful. There are several organizations that do things like that, and I've actually not stolen, but stolen a lot of their commands to be like, hey, actually these are great resources, and I've integrated them into some of the bot commands that we have on my channel. So it's really nice to hear. Like, I like that you have it go occasionally, so that even if they don't say anything, there's still that there. Slay, I actually added a new one, but I don't remember what it is. I don't remember if it's exclamation point love or exclamation point help. It's one of the two. One of those two. Question, not a question, but say some nice things about your co-hosts. That's from Link Attack.
Yeah, one of my co-hosts. Wow. Unbelievable.
Shock.
They are audacious. One in particular. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I have an amazing team. Like, I love the people that I've surrounded myself with. I think overall, content creator wise, we have over 20 people right now.
Wow.
And we're super diverse. The other day we got a comment, and it meant so much. The person said, it means a lot to me that the person who is leading the Geek Therapy is Hispanic. I'm Hispanic, and there are more other Hispanic people, and we have queer people, and we have black people, and we have old people, and we have parents, and we have single people, and we have, I feel like everything is represented in our content creators, and it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. Plus, we also have a mixture. We don't only have therapists.
Yeah.
We have teachers. We have psychologists. We have students. It's just different ages. I mean, we all need to talk about it. We all need to come together and share information.
Yeah. Well, I like that you have teachers also, because I was just tweeting. I mentioned earlier that I tweet a lot, but I was just tweeting about how important, especially with back to school right now, like this is on my mind so much, but how important teachers are in kids' lives and in building resilience as well.
Since the beginning, education has been a core part of Geek Therapy, and because I agree completely. I mean, there's that quote from George Lucas. It's like the most important job in the world is that of a teacher, and he started an organization where he's got Edutopia, and it's so true. When I had my private practice, I gave a discount to teachers because to me, I felt like if I could help one teacher get help, I was helping possibly 100, 200 kids, while that person is feeling better. Like that, they touch so many people's lives. We don't pay them enough. We don't treat them right. I mean, it is so sad.
Yes. Yeah. It's that is one of the professions that is so underpaid that it just boggles my mind completely and totally. Like we trust these people to work for very little money to essentially raise kids for, their little lives, and they should be paid more. Yeah. No, and I mean, it's just, it's so sad, but but they're so important. They're so important. They are so important. Yes.
So many of the things that we teach, I mean, I think it's even more effective if those values or those skills are taken up by teachers and they use them with their students. Like we talk about integrating that to just teach lessons, right? So you could use it in the classroom, but that, like, again, just that example of going, having a kid and showing interest in what they like, even if you don't know what it is, that means so much. And a lot of kids don't get that.
Yeah. Okay, Link Attack has an actual question now. If you were given $100 million that you had to spend right now, what would you do with it? Do you have to spend it on one thing? Or can you spend it on multiple?
I don't want it to be more specific. Let's just go with general.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. It's a weird question. I don't know. Kind of like, I don't know how you feel about your Twitch channel, but like I always feel like Geek Therapy, we're so aspirational. There's so many things that I want to do. The community is like all over the place, but even the content creators are all in different locations. I would love to have a headquarters and just bring everybody in and pay everybody and like start like make stuff like make it something a force to be reckoned with.
Right. No, I love that. That's fantastic. You could definitely spend $100 million just on that.
It would be hard. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll bet you.
I don't know if it's that aspirational.
If you're counting like building the building and staffing it and facilities maintenance, and then also getting all the people into one place and providing the right benefits, and I think
salaries
that could add
for like
up.
10 years.
Right.
I think,
throw in the salaries. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're good.
Great answer. There you go. Were you a geek growing up, and were you a gamer? So I consider those to be two different things a little bit.
Yeah,
I think you can be one without the other.
Yeah, I agree. So both. I think my parents bought our first video game console when I was maybe 3 years old. There's this video of my mom and I playing Super Mario Brothers when I was super tiny. So it's one of those memories that I don't have, but I've seen the video of it.
Yeah.
And so video games, like my dad used to buy lots of video games. And like technically, even now, my whole family, like my mom, my dad, who are divorced, by the way, but they compete every week in a mobile game called Disney Emoji Blitz. My sister plays it, I play it, and we play every week. And like my dad is like so many levels above where we all are. It's disgusting. We don't. I'm almost gonna unfriend him from Facebook just so he doesn't appear in my in our leaderboard. We're all considering it. But like, yeah, my family, lots of gamers, but also like big geeks. My father was big into like action movies, and when it's so funny. Like, I had this conversation with him when I was a teenager. He's like, "Oh, like you're always watching that anime stuff. You don't watch cartoons like I did when I was little, like Astro Boy." And I was like, "Astro Boy's an anime. That's like the first anime. What are you talking about?" So yeah, like everything I watch now and I play and I do is because of my parents. So yeah, ever since I was a kid.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, so Smite Gmon PS4 has a question. Unlike the last weird question, I have a real question. Why is it when you transport something by car, it's called a shipment, but when you transfer something by a ship, it's called cargo? Do you mind if I answer this one? Is that okay? Can I answer
I'm not that kind of professional, so take it.
All right, good.
Yeah.
This is a totally legit and researched real answer. I know everything. No. Because if you transfer something by car, then you can't also transfer a car by car, so you have to put it on a ship, so it's a shipment. But if you can transfer a car with a ship, then it's the car going, so it's called cargo. That's it.
I approve.
Okay,
concur.
Let's see. What is the best way to respond to someone that insists video games cause violence?
Yeah. So, I mean, we recently talked about this on an episode of GT Radio, which is like our weekly podcast. And I think, first of all, like, ask them why they want to know. If they just want to make a point, that like, if they don't want to be convinced, then walk away. It's not worth having the conversation. If they're really open to it, I don't know. I really like the recent argument I've seen online a lot about how, there are other countries who play video games and consume video games just as much as we do, but they don't have as much gun violence. There are books like Steven Pinker's The Better Angels of Our Nature, which talks about how over time just there's less violence in the world. Everybody's gonna say, "Oh, back in my day, things weren't as bad," but they were worse.
Right.
Violence is one of those things that has actually gone down throughout history and continues to reduce. I mean, news and all that stuff makes it very different. But yeah, first of all, I would ask why they want to know. Like, do you really want to have an honest conversation? And then if you have a personal story, share your personal story and the stories of other people, because it's hard to, when somebody asks that question, to say, "Give me a second, I'm gonna Google 10 research articles and I'm going to read them to you." Like, that's not realistic. But if you can share your story and share the story of other people that I think that's probably the best you can do in a situation, like in an uncomfortable situation like that, where someone confronts you and says, "Oh, video games are violent." Rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
But
There's lots of things going around saying, like, well, if video games are violent, then, what's based on the last game that you played? What is the violence that you're committing? And everybody's like, "I'm farming," or I'm taming dinosaurs, or like all this stuff. This is completely non-violent.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I don't understand how that violence video game connection is totally limited to the US. Yeah, boggles my mind.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
What is a psych skill or tool you wish you could just beam into everyone's head all at once? Ooh, I like that.
I think it would be to not react. Like stay quiet for a second. Think about it first. Walk away if possible. Think about it and then come back. Just not react immediately. It'll make your life way better.
Yeah.
It's quite the skill.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and that could not only be applied to an argument or a disagreement, but also just a regular conversation. Like, if you're looking to react in a conversation, if you're already thinking about what you want to say next, like, that's the opposite of active listening. So I like that. That's good.
I get it. I'm not saying don't feel. I'm saying don't act on that feeling immediately. Yeah.
Right. No, that's totally fair, and something that almost everyone could do better at.
The world would be so much better.
Yes, it would. Do you feel there's a strong tie between gaming and geek culture and a resilience with regards to mental strength?
So we haven't talked about resilience, like, in general. Do you want to
If you,
do that, kind of?
yeah, absolutely. Do you want to kind of cover what resilience is and what goes into it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a general way in psychology that it's talked about is the ability to bounce back. So, like, you go through an adversity, you go through a bad thing, your ability to come back from that. I like to frame it more in the immediate. Like, I think it's the ability or the capability to deal with things, with different things.
Yeah.
And I love talking to gamers about that because it's so easy to make a connection. And I'll give an example. Just 2 days ago, I was playing with a good friend of mine, also a co-host of mine on Geek Therapy stuff. And we were playing Borderlands 2. We were wrapping up the latest DLC, getting ready for Borderlands 3. And I was playing with my level 52 character. But we were playing on her file, and she was on about 34, level 34.
Mm-hmm.
I had more experience, therefore I had leveled up. My armor was higher, and I was not getting killed. I was not getting defeated. I was not getting knocked down. My friend was constantly, all the time, and sometimes it was really frustrating. It's because she was underleveled. She didn't have the capability, the ability to resist the things that were happening, to deal with what was happening at that moment. So I like to make that connection between like experience and armor classes and things like that in terms of resilience, because a part of it is also experience and just knowing. Like in some games, it's about like being able to dodge and move around. But in a game like Borderlands, it was, I was way higher level, boom.
Yeah.
And you could say I was more resilient. And in real life, that's kind of the same way, right? Like some people are more resilient because they have experience, because they have gone through. Now, I mean, there's a lot of really, really, really awesome science on resilience and how some people are, right? And there's so many different things in positive psychology, especially, that talk about all of these things that build you up to be able to face adversity way better than other people. It's fascinating. But in terms of video game terms, I think that's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
So what was the question before?
Do you feel like there's a strong tie between geek culture and resilience with regards to mental strength?
I wish there was. And there actually, so technically there have been, I've read research articles that show that gamers on some things that would indicate higher resilience are higher than the general population. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that in games we're used to facing a challenge, getting defeated, and then going right back into it. Right. And I think that does something to the way that you see the world and the way that you see just everything. So I'm going to say yes. And there's research out there to back it up. I wish it was more prevalent and more obvious and something that we talked about more. Yeah. But I think, yeah, and I think, again, I think it's because it's something that you're practicing constantly. You're practicing defeat and then just getting right back up and going at it again.
Right. Well, and there also could be a little bit of an aspect of you found your tribe kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So if you're surrounding yourself with people who like something similar, and I mean, there's always a chance that it's not a great crowd, right? But as long as you're surrounding yourself with people who enjoy something that you do and they're not detracting from your mental health, like that could be a good thing for resilience, I feel like.
It could be. Like, again, there are lots of factors that build it up. And having being surrounded by good people is a good thing and can only benefit you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in your experience, when does resilience become important to someone?
So I think in the abstract, I think it's important, period.
Yeah.
I think that people, I don't know that people, it's a psychology term, right? It's one of those things where most people don't think about, oh, I'm very resilient. I think my resilience is important. I don't think that's something that's not the way that people think about it. But in the sense that the feeling of, oh, I can face things that I couldn't face before, like that's super empowering. You know, that's a revelation that comes to you. It's like this moment, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can do this. I can go through this. I can face this because I've faced it before, and I faced it like just the right amount to make me a little bit stronger and a little bit more capable to do it. You know, to face a similar adversity or the same adversity at a higher level. So I mean, for life, it's super important. But I don't know how aware people are of the concept.
Probably not very. I mean, I wouldn't think so, because there is, like you said, there's so much that goes into resilience. Like there's the interpersonal, there's environmental, and all of those are broken out into lots of little things. But those environmental pieces are a lot harder to change. The stuff that you have in your control, if you're improving that, it's not just going to improve your resilience, right? You're improving them, probably not thinking, oh, I need to be more resilient. You're improving them thinking, I need to get better at this for my job. I need to get better at this for my relationship, like all those things. And then they all kind of roll up. Do you feel that there are some factors that are more important to focus on to improve your resilience over others?
I think there are some. I mean, it depends on the person. Depends on what we're like. Resilience is a very general term.
It is,
right? It's like in facing what adversity. Like some stuff is way harder to face than others, and some trauma can just cause so much harm that you're not more resilient afterwards. Yeah. You know, then it's trauma, right? And then it's not resilience. So it depends on what we're talking about. But I mean, again, looking into positive psychology, there's I'm forgetting the name for. There's something. They have this book. It's the VIA. It's the virtues and something. It's basically their anti-diagnostic and statistical manual, like the anti-DSM. So what they say is, if you build up all of these qualities, you're going to be, again, more resilient, more. Yeah, the idea is that you will thrive in life, like that the DSM just diagnoses disorders and then gets you to baseline, basically, right? Like you're at negative and brings you to zero. Positive psychology is all about taking you from not only negative to zero, but 0 to plus 10. Right. So, again, in gaming terms, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. You know? Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it depends. Like we talked earlier. Like I feel the same way around big crowds. You know. So that's something that if it's really important for a job or something that I want, or just I don't know, for different reasons, that's something we can practice and get better at. You know, but it depends on what your life circumstances are. But again, I would look into somebody could look it up. The VIA. There's a website.
Virtues, I wrote down VIA, virtues and something anti-DSM. So
yeah, you'll find it.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it.
Yeah.
That's because that sounds really cool. Like you're right. The DSM is like, okay, well, what's the matter kind of thing. But then the VIA. So, I guess could you explain a little bit more what it is, what it's for, kind of thing, like what's in it? Because I haven't heard of this. I haven't heard of this before, so super interested.
I forgot what they are specifically. Let me. I've got a computer in front of me. This isn't good streaming, but why not?
You're totally fine.
I'm so frustrated because I don't remember what.
No, it's fine.
Virtues. Okay, virtues and character strengths. Here we go.
Virtues and character strengths. Okay.
Free VIA character survey. Right. So there's these character strengths. That's right, Link. I am learning live. Okay. The 24 character strengths. So they are appreciation of beauty and I won't read them all necessarily, but appreciation of beauty and excellence, bravery, creativity, curiosity, honesty, gratitude, forgiveness, fairness, hope, humility, humor, judgment. Things like this that are very positive characteristics that, again, imagine a video game where these are all your now I can't remember a video game term. It's like you're in an RPG. These are all your stats, right? Yeah. These are all your stats. And imagine you have a limited number of points, right? And you start adding to those points. Well, there's benefits to adding to one or the other. but overall you're becoming a stronger character.
Right.
You're becoming a more powerful character, maybe a better person, maybe, you know, happier.
Yeah.
Again, the wording usually goes through, it's about thriving. So it's not just living your life, it's imagine thriving in your life.
Yeah.
And you can do that by raising up these different stats.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. I've never, no, there's the link. Okay, Bite Mark's got the link for us. Thank you.
Oh, look, that link says anti-DSM
It does.
manual
It
24
says,
human strengths.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have?
And I found VIAcharacter.org lists. It's like the actual institute that they formed to, you know, to study and promote these ideas.
Okay, VIAcharacter.org. All right, cool. Every time I do this, I wind up writing something else down to look up later, which is great. I love it. Values in action. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, Bite Mark has a question. Do you have any suggestions, books maybe for getting through grief? Most things I can bounce back from, but this one's proving difficult and between therapists due to a move, but I'm definitely planning to get back into it soon.
Yeah, man, grief is hard. Grief and loss, those are really hard.
Yeah.
Those are. I get this question a lot, and I never have a good answer. I remember my dad once asked me to write a book on how to deal with grief. Like his brother had died, and he was so sad, and he was like, "Is there anything?" And I was like, "Dad, I don't really think." He's like, "Maybe you should write one." You know, like it's something that we need. But I think that having a support network is the most important thing. Just don't be alone. Whatever that support network is, like tap into it. Don't isolate yourself. Even if it feels like, even if you need to isolate yourself for a little to like recharge your batteries, then, you know, reach out to that support network. And some people don't have a support network, and that's really hard. And that's where, like, find one, right? It's like it's you may not have a natural one like family or friends. Like meetup.com and go find people who like what you like. You know, join. The internet is funny because it can be so toxic. You know, I used to tell people like go to forum, you know, where people like what you like. That can that can backfire.
Yes.
But like, yeah, but like going to clubs and things where people share the same interests. There's that you know, start building that support network, and that can be really, really hard. But I think focusing on that is a good first step.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. Link Attack asks, are you looking for dealing with personal grief or supporting others' grief? I really like Caitlin Doughty's books. I don't know about her books dealing with personal. All for being able to support others as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah.
You don't know where to start with yourself, go help somebody else, and
yeah,
you may be surprised with what happens.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the time when I'm having a bad day, not necessarily with grief, but just in general, kind of having a bad day, if I go into something like Heart Support Wall or I go into Discord or something like that and just provide kind of peer support, like, oh, hey, what you're going through really sucks right now, and I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. A lot of times it can help pull me out of a funk a little bit too.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of specific grief forums for suicide, terminal illness, sudden death, murder. Yeah, that something like that would be good. Like I know that my own experience with forums, as far as grief and loss go, hasn't been super positive. If it's specifically for grief and loss, but that doesn't mean that there aren't great ones out there.
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant. About those, because not only can it be toxic, but sometimes it's just too much. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going through my stuff, and then 100 other people going through the same thing or going through something, you know, like you may not be equipped at that moment to handle that. Like one thing is like not feeling alone. Another thing is realizing so many people go through the same thing that it's overwhelming. Yeah. So it's not easy. I mean, but you know, that's why I said support network. If you have one, tap into it. And if not, start building one up slowly. Maybe like a 1 million person forum is not the best place to start.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that million people could get it could be overwhelming. You're definitely right, but also sometimes things can get a little bit lost in the shuffle too in a forum that big. Hey, Matt, how are you? Part of my job in the military is providing military honors at veterans' funerals, paying them very hard and to death, even when they were friends. That's kind of like exposure almost, the exposure to sad events, I guess.
Yeah. And I worked in the military, always as a civilian, but yeah, man, you see a lot of stuff, and some people, I mean, becoming very hardened to that. I don't know if you mean that in a good way or a bad way.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
Like, one thing is like feeling like you can deal with it better, right? And maybe you can help other people deal with it. But another thing is like, it's just so much that it becomes like you stop feeling, So I mean, I don't know. There's a lot that servicemen and women go through that is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Do you have any general strategies that if it's like not necessarily attached to a certain situation, but just kind of general strategies for improving personal resilience, either through gaming or through therapy, that you recommend for like just anybody to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, as gamers, I think we can frame situations in gaming terms, and that's really helpful. Like the idea of, how could I level up? What skills do I need to improve? And that's something that I can't say to a non-gamer, that they're going to understand easily without some explanation. I'd have to find out what else they're into to kind of make a connection.
Right.
It's basically the idea of like study and practice, like, learn it, practice it, and then you can get better at it. And I think that's what it boils down to. But again, for gamers, I think that framing it in that context. I know when Comicspedia, when Patrick O'Connor was on the show before, we talked about Jane McGonigal's books, and her book, Super Better, is all... No, not Super Better. Yes.
Wait,
no.
Super Better was on there. Hang on, wait. Do I have it?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. Yeah, so Super Better is the one. So, Super Better, which I'm in, by the way, in chapter 10.
Oh, really?
I love to mention that because it's like it's like a cool fact. It's a cool Josué fact. So what happened to Jane was that she had a concussion, and then she basically built a game to get better.
Right.
That was it. So the game she actually then made the game. There's a mobile app. Last time I checked, they had not updated it in a long time, but the website exists, and you can create a profile. And then what it does is exactly what I was saying before. Is you take a problem and you break it down into gaming terms. It's like, what are the bad guys? What are my power-ups? What skills am I building up? And then you give yourself, like, just giving yourself credit for that, right? Like, oh, I did this, and I'm moving up, I'm leveling up. I think it's a great way to frame growth.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And yeah, I didn't realize that you were in that. See, Dr. O'Connor failed to mention that.
He should mention it every
time. Every time. Come on now. Come on. Took many courses on resiliency, and it's a daily struggle to tell yourself to be happy. Well, I'm glad you at least took the courses, and the daily struggle sucks. Like, it just does. 450 funerals and wasn't sad when my family passed. Wow. That is a lot of funerals. Holy crap.
Yeah. Like, and I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to feel about death necessarily. I mean, there's no judgment here, right? Like, there's no, I don't believe that there is a right or a wrong way. I don't think that, I mean, it depends on your beliefs. It depends on many, many different things.
Yes.
And regardless, something like that happens, you see it that many times, it changes you. It affects you in a different way. You're not going to see death the same way somebody. Study and practice. It's the same idea, right? Like whether you wanted to or not, that's something that you experienced over and over and over again. Yeah.
That's a good point. Like the things that you experience over and over, those are the ones that you might struggle. Either the ones that you're going to rise to the best, or the ones that you're going to struggle with the most.
Yeah, and like he's saying, at some point I was tired of being sad all the time. Mm-hmm. And again, like I hope you're doing really well now, Mad. You know, and that might be what you're saying. You know, it's like, you know what, like I was sad all the time. And then I just didn't want to be anymore, and I wasn't. And now I can deal with death better than other people, and that's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I wish that every time I saw a death, I wasn't, you know, like it wasn't like, I think a lot of people, we're very emotional around death, and not only like the question before about grief and loss, like it's very, very hard, but just death in general, it's something that it doesn't happen to most people. It doesn't happen all the time to us, and like. Now, where people live longer, it happens even less. So, events, like, I don't know. There was this tweet a couple weeks ago from Neil deGrasse Tyson, which was very cold, right? And a lot of people jumped on it, where he basically said, like, yeah, we just had a few mass shootings, but like so many people die every day, and we're just reacting emotionally to it. And I'm not saying that his tweet was good or bad. I'm just saying that it's true that a lot of people, like, we have an emotional reaction to it. And when you experience something enough times, this may be a terrible example, but it's like you can eat your favorite food over and over and over again, and then it's just like not your favorite food anymore. Mm-hmm. Just like you can eat a food that's like okay, and after a while you're like, you know, like I kind of like it now. Like it's you know, all life experiences are that way.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, with the mass shootings, like, just talking about, weird to compare it to eating your favorite food and over, but we just hear so much about mass shootings, and it just over and over that now, you know, we had those 3 in one weekend, and it's like, well, I'm not super shocked anymore, you know.
Yeah. There's a South Park episode.
Horrible.
Yeah, there's a South Park episode. One of the last episodes that came out from the last season, there's actually a thread that started happening in the last few episodes, which was like there was a shooting in the town, and the mom of one of the kids was freaking out, and everybody was just like, and by the end of it, she was also like, meh, like, oh yeah, okay, you know. And I think it's what's happening, you know. Mm-hmm. The more we see it, the less there's an emotional reaction to it too. But again, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Death's handled differently by everyone. That was something I saw. It was confusing at first, but some celebrate, some grieve. Absolutely. My grandfather is a retired funeral director, and he used to talk about all of the different traditions, because they saw everything. Like, they saw every type of funeral, every type of, like, black veil mourning, every type of super bright celebration, and everything in between, right? And he has just talked about that death is something different to every single person. Link Attack, it was really cool. Hey, Philip, how are you? It was really cool, not to detract from what we're talking about here too much, but it was really cool growing up and being like, well, I'm going to the funeral home today, and to have everybody around me as a kid be like, you're going where? Yeah. But to me, it was just like a normal thing. We would go and have lunch with him a lot at the funeral home, and it wasn't a sad place necessarily. Yeah. Road trips with a casket in the back. Yes. Literally took road trips with my grandfather where we were going to get a body and come back to the funeral home to prepare that body for burial. And it's one of those things, like, you get this respect for different people's cultures, different people's experiences, different people's views. And I think with death, that's something that's really neat that you don't see a lot of. Like, you see a lot of what you specifically and your culture and what you're surrounded with when you grow up. You see that, and it's neat to kind of expand that view and see the whole of it, if you will. Yeah.
Death positivity is a very cool thing to explore and learn about.
I didn't realize that death positivity was a thing.
It's a thing. It's a cool thing.
Yeah. It's I'm learning a lot this one.
And I mean, I don't know. Lincoln can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically like what we're talking about. Like, oh, you were exposed to it, and it's not like it's death.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can talk about it. Can we talk about it? Can we celebrate it? Can we have a good time? Can we make jokes about it? You know, like what is it? Can we also take it seriously when it needs to be taken seriously? You know, it can be many different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and our family grew up with you have the viewing, and then you have a wake, and the wake winds up being like this big family reunion essentially. Where you just eat and talk and talk about stories of the person, and then you have the burial usually. But one thing that I will say, and I don't know, Bite Mark, I don't know if this is what you've been struggling with a little bit. I'm really not sure, but I know when Papa went missing, like I went to one funeral after he went missing, and that was my mother-in-law's, and that was really hard for me. And I actually haven't been to any funerals since then. Like I have skipped them. Because it was really hard, but it's one of those things you can definitely lose perspective on, for sure. It's natural. Let's talk about it. Like sex positive, it's about education and destigmatizing. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what I said before.
Yeah. No, but that's death positivity. That's an interesting. Okay, I have to write that one down too.
Yeah. Check it out.
I always write down so many things, and it reminds me like what I need to go back and make sure that I link in the bottom of the description and everything at the end. So that's good too.
Yeah.
Still in denial about Papa. I know it. I'm aware. I'm putting that off to deal with until later, and that's understandable. That at least from my end, going through the same experience, it's understandable. I mean, it was a while ago, though. Oh, my best friend is the one that's still messing me up. Oh, yeah. Okay. I get you. I get you. I do. That sucks.
Yeah.
I wish I had something better to say than that sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah. Okay. Let's turn to another question here. If you could change one thing about the mental health field or people's views of mental health professionals, what would it be?
Man. I mean, it's just like, it's too expensive. It's too expensive to see a therapist. I mean, healthcare in general. So that's like, maybe I'm cheating, but you know, I think that it should be more accessible. I think the healthcare in general should be more accessible. I think mental health care is too expensive. The model that we have of like seeing people once a week for an hour, it's not efficient. You know, there's so much that happens in between. There's so many different ways to do it. There are other models out there, but because of insurance, so I don't know. If I could change it, I would change so many things.
Yeah.
Oh, so many things. Put me in charge. Maybe that's what I'll use the $100 million for.
Put you in charge. There you go.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
I like it. Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, there's so much good that is done, but also like mental health isn't all clinical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fact that you have to go through a diagnosis and like there's so many things that we can do beforehand. So many other things. Like one example is just people's work experience sucks. You know, like the place where you spend most of the time, there's so much stuff that is detrimental to your mental health happening there.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. Like if we just address those types of things, there's so much that we could improve. I think we should start in schools. I think there's a lot that we can do in schools to make kids feel safer, you know, more engaged, like just help them thrive, and that would help them later on in life too. Start young. So many things. I think about this all the time. There's so many things. I'm not
I
a
like
fan
that.
of
I
the
like
system.
No, I don't think there are many people that are. Like, seriously. I was just talking to somebody today who is in the UK, and they were talking about that they were being told that they were not a self-harm risk, so they weren't going to. They weren't a self-harm risk, so they were being told that they couldn't see a therapist under the public system. That they would have to go private. And so I was like, that's kind of messed up. I said, that seems like that system is broken. Then I put in parentheses after it, like, not that the U.S. system isn't broken, because believe me, it is.
But that's a very serious risk, right? Like, if in the future if the United States did the same thing and we actually got, universal health care, and then you put these ridiculous requirements in, then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's bad now. It could be worse. Mm-hmm. It could be way worse.
Yeah, it could.
But again, it's so expensive. It's just not accessible. It's just not accessible.
It's not. Ridiculous. It really isn't.
And it's not good for therapists either.
That's true. That's true. Like, how are you supposed to make an actual connection with somebody in an hour when you're cut off at time, and then you have all this other stuff to do? I could see that being really difficult.
Mm-hmm. The burnout is real for therapists.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am sure.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that they said was, I'm not at risk for self-harm or suicide, so they said I'm fine. And then they went on to say, like, I have to get it through private and everything. And I was like, well, look, I'm not at risk for self-suicide or for self-harm or suicide. That doesn't mean I'm fine every day. Like, that's not a good baseline.
Yeah. I wonder if that's just the person that she went to see. Like I know that in the UK there's more gatekeepers, right? So, like, some person, like, does an intake and then they let you go to the next step. It sounds like I honestly don't know anything about the UK system.
Neither do I.
Yeah. Hopefully that was just a bad gatekeeper.
I hope so too.
Yeah. Like, the DSM is full of things that they could use as justification.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely. Every time I pop into your stream, you look different every time. I'm actually 7 different people, Philip McCracken. It's not just one of me. I wish I could clone myself. Seriously. That would be wonderful. Lighter Fair, what is your favorite game?
So that changes often.
I was going to say, that's a hard question.
Yeah, it changes often, but today I've been thinking about it. I think it's No Man's Sky. And it's because I love science fiction so much, and it is like it is wish fulfillment, and like the best type of, it's like for a kid who wanted to be an astronaut and thinks about, exploring the stars.
Yeah.
And it's a game where you can, like, there's a trillion different planets and you just explore. And you meet aliens, and the aliens are friendly, and you're learning their language. And the more language you learn, like, the more aliens you can talk to. Like, it's one of those things that it really has. It's not the game I've played the most in my life. Mm-hmm. It's not, but it is probably, if No Man's Sky didn't exist, it's probably the game that I wish existed. And now that it exists,
like that.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like it hits all the right notes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not difficult. It's not. Like, I'm not saving the world. Like, it's just like I'm just this person exploring and finding new things, and I can choose what I want to do. And then it's just like these beautiful planets, and some aren't, and some are. Like, I just went to a place where the planet was completely desolate. I think it was called an abandoned planet. It's like, and then so my mind starts thinking, like, oh, like, maybe that planet, like, it had life before, but now it doesn't, like they used up all the resources, so they abandoned it. There's nothing there. And then you go to another planet that has, like, pink grass and rings around it, and these weird aliens that are just like these little animals. It's just like, oh, it's so cool. Yeah, I think it's No Man's Sky.
There you go. You've convinced yourself.
Yeah.
Have you played since the update?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so yes. See, I played it before the update and was pretty frustrated with a few things in the game. A couple of them were just like player issue, but then some of them were actual game mechanics. But I haven't played since the new update, and I really would like to. So I think I'm gonna play that at some point.
Yeah, I played a lot before, and then when the new update came out, I said, you know what? it's version 2.0. I'm just going to start from the beginning again. I wanted to see what that onboarding process was like. I wanted to see there's a mystery, there's a story. Like there's so much more that they've added, and I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, that's a great game. Bite Mark says she played No Man's Sky after her stream. The new update is nifty. Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
The new Win 10 1903 update is different. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
Windows 10?
Fee. Windows 10? Oh, wait, what's the 1903? I'm confused. It's okay. I'm usually confused. It's all right. Sometimes wish I was live and make my own life the way I want and just am able to do anything. Are you talking about like, so I sometimes wish I was in like No Man's Sky? I feel like I'm on an abandoned planet. I get it. I skipped a message. My bad. You should start over. You should start over because there's so much new content. Okay. I like it. That's pretty cool. If I had to pick a favorite game, I mean, like, RuneScape is my love. It's the game that continually sucks me in. I've been playing it for 15 years. And I take a break from it. And then I come back to it. And then I take a break from it. And then I come back to it. And now I'm on, like... I started playing again in 2017, and I just got my 15-year cape on my old account a couple months ago. And it's my I will always play this game. I don't know that I would say that it's my absolute favorite, though.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Maybe Dead by Daylight might be really my favorite.
Really? Yeah.
I love that game. It's fantastic. RuneScape is not a love, it's an on-again, off-again addiction. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, I think that's all the questions that I had lined up for us today. So if there's any more community Q&A for our guest today, you're welcome to do !Q in the chat. Follow it with your question. It'll pop it into a queue and we can go through it. A murder game would be your favorite, yes. Is RuneScape the game you have spent the most time on? Probably. The most money on?
Definitely.
I don't know, because I really don't spend money on it. I mean, well, okay, so I have my yearly membership, but that's only, well, it winds up being like $60 a year. What is it when you buy it yearly, though, Slay? It probably is the one I spend the most on. just in the membership. Yearly, like 80. Yeah, then definitely. Spend the most time on Ark.
The game I'm most excited about is right now is probably Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
It's like coming up soon because I played so much of Borderlands 2 with my friends, and like I said, the other day I was playing, like wrapping up. It's just I love it. But yeah, I mean, again, ask me next week. I might have a different answer.
It changes.
Borderlands 3 hype. Yes.
It does. It changes for sure. Okay, Philip McCracken has a question. Would you rather live alone on your own planet with surface top resources or live on a heavy populated planet like Earth now?
Oh man! So when I picture a happy place, it looks like like Superman's Fortress of Solitude. It's like in the Arctic, and it's like white and cold. Like that's my happy place. I don't know how long I could do it, but like when I need to recharge, that's what I picture. That's what I think of. So I don't know if I'd live there, but I'd like to have that as a vacation option.
I think that's a good point. Have a solitude vacation option, because I
like people. I don't think I can be away from people.
Yeah.
I don't like people all the time. I don't like all people.
Exactly. Yes. Like that's the thing. I like people.
People are great, but people, ugh.
I need to be around them, but also sometimes I need to not be around them. So yeah, same page. Same page for sure. Do you do the Premier Club every year or by month? So I missed Premier Club last year, but I did go ahead and buy like the bundle. So it's like the same price. I just missed the Premier benefits, which sucks. But truly human duality. Yeah. So if there are no other questions, Josué, I would love to just kind of open the floor to you. And if there's anything that we didn't cover that you would like to talk about, if you want to tell us more about Geek Therapy or you want to tell us about something cool you've got going on, the floor is yours.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Last year, I believe it was last year, we started reaching out to different streamers on Twitch and asking them about like how we could help them, because one of the things we'd like to do is create a resource for streamers, YouTubers, because like a lot of things come up in the chat, a lot of things come up in comments that like maybe you're not equipped for, you know, and that's not something that you have to answer now. And it's just, I forgot to mention it before we started recording in our exchange, but we created a like a survey, right? And I'll send it to you is what I'll do. But is there, and again, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious if there's something that, and in your case, you're a mental health advocacy channel,
right?
You know, but I'm just curious, is there anything that has ever come up or comes up that you wish you were more equipped for? You wish you had, I'm not saying like you need a degree to deal with it, right? But it's like sometimes it's like, oh, it's shocking. Like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. That you wish that there were more resources available to you, like something that maybe we could help, an organization that is like consists of mental health professionals.
Well, I think like right off the bat, one of the things that before I took a mental health first aid course that I didn't know how to respond to was if someone came in and said, you know, I'm thinking of killing myself, which a lot of the times on Twitch, you know, maybe they're being serious, maybe they're kind of a little bit trolling, but you just don't have a way to tell with those kinds of things. So kind of knowing what to say in situations like that, because now I know that I can just be like, yo, I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. You're not alone. And go through the steps of like, do you have a plan right now? Have you talked to somebody else about this plan? Do you have all the things for your plan? Like I can work through all of those steps. But before I went through that course, like that was something that I was super uncomfortable with. So I definitely think if you're putting together a resource, a section on like literally what do I say when someone says they're thinking of killing themselves?
Yeah.
Because that's a big one on Twitch, and it is not ever, I don't think, going to be possible to tell if they're serious or not. So I feel like you always have to treat it like they are, you know, in my opinion.
But do you feel any sort of responsibility to do something?
I feel a responsibility to try to connect them with resources. And I feel like on the other side of a computer screen, that's about as much as I can do for them. Like I can't be like, all right, tell me where you live because I'm going to send somebody to your house. You know, because that's, first of all, like against TOS. But also could prove a little bit dangerous for either the streamer or the viewer. But if you can connect them to a resource, I feel like that's the best thing. That's why I have those Lifeline, and I've already forgotten what it was. I looked up what it was. The other one, Find Help. That's the one. Yeah. Yeah. Where you can put links in.
I love that. I think that's probably the most anybody should do on a Twitch stream. Yeah. You know, I maybe I also think that's the least we should do. You know, I think that's just right. Yeah. No, I'm glad to hear that that's what you do, or even if it hasn't happened or it hasn't happened often, it's, you know, you're ready for it. You have that stuff available. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. No, it's hard. It's a difficult situation to be in. A lot of people feel more responsible. Other people freak out. I mean, it's very scary, you know, even for someone with mental health, you know, a mental health professional, it's still something that, again, with practice though, it gets easier, but that's great. Yeah. That you have the resources available.
Well, and I know from, like I have said this before, but I don't get anxiety once I start streaming. Like I get a little bit of, and it's not even really anxiety, it's just kind of like nerves before I interview someone. Hi, how are you? You know, so beforehand, like I try to get on a little bit early, make sure I don't have issues, like those kinds of things. But I know that streaming does actually cause anxiety for a lot of people, like just be streaming, and there's lots of aspects of it that can cause anxiety. So for some people, I feel like a good thing to add might just be like, this is not uncommon, and here's some strategies that you can do to work yourself through some of this if you can.
Yeah. I mean, so many people put like their entire self-worth, you know, into this, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy at all. Yeah. It's not true, first of all, and it's not healthy.
Right. Yeah. And that may be why I don't have a lot of anxiety while I'm streaming, because I do also have a full-time job, and, you know, I've got family and friends and, like, just a lot outside of Twitch. I really, but I do, I'm about to say I do this because I do want to make the world a better place. Like, I want to feel like I'm helping. I want to feel like I'm making an impact. So it's one of those things. Bite mark, that's a really good point too. Thought a lot about it before I started, and being on camera would give me anxiety, so I just don't do that. Like, really simple things.
Yeah, we have on our team, Jessica. She's like our newest stream team member, and she started using avatars, you know, like drawings. And she uses an Adobe program that like voices, like it moves, it maps her face.
I've seen those.
And she's doing that, and that's cool. I mean, you don't have to be on there. Like, there's so many examples of popular streamers who don't show their face. Like, that's okay. Yeah, no, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, I get that. Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with. I don't know. It's complicated. It's complicated.
It is.
But the truth is, you don't have to have a camera. You don't have to have a fancy camera. You don't have to have a green screen. It's okay. There are no rules. I don't think that's the reason. Again, it depends what your goals are, what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We do have another question. Philip McCracken asks, if the universe we live in were to be like those sci-fi movies where many different planets had different races, etc., what would your role be? Would you be space pirate, world traveler, mercenary, or traitor, etc.? Oh, that's an interesting question. I have no idea.
I'd be an explorer, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I really like Star Trek and the idea that even though they're like a military organization, they're really diplomatic, right? Like that's the idea. They're on a diplomatic expedition. They're out to meet new alien races. They're trying to build a federation of planets. They're trying to bring people together. I love that. I would love to be like, you know, on the Enterprise and be a part of that and discover new planets.
Yeah.
And new cultures,
great.
and new people. Yeah.
I feel like I need more roots than that. Maybe a traitor for me. Oh, yes, I said doo-doo. It's fine, okay?
You did.
We're so mature here. We really are. It's true. It's not like I have a fart emote or anything. Setting your own boundaries and sticking to them are really good. Healthy things, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
I'm fine with my face, but I would think way too much about what my expression was. If I had a booger in my nose, just a lot of things. That's fair. I don't know why I don't stress about those things. I just have it. I just don't. Think a lot about my hair. My hair, which is up in like this crazy little bun right now. I don't know. Are the frizzy sticking out like devil horns? Okay, so I did notice that mine were earlier, and I did kind of pull them back, but that's okay. Ignore the bottom portion of those. So if we don't have any other questions, can you tell us just a little bit more, like what's your schedule for Geek Therapy? You mentioned GT Radio. What's your schedule for that?
Yeah. So geektherapy.com is the place to find information on everything. We mostly produce podcasts. We have many. They're not all super consistent. We have a brand new show from one of our community members, which is a deep dive into Assassin's Creed. We have a psychology and gaming. Oh, that one's called The Codex. And then we have a psychology and gaming show that comes out every 2 weeks called Headshots. GT Radio is like our flagship main one. Started the whole network weekly, 4 people. Like, you know, we put a lot of love into that, but it's also the one that's closest to the community. Like something comes up in the Discord and our Facebook group, like then that's where we feed from and cover topics there. So that's GT Radio. That's every week. It's out every Sunday at some point whenever I get around to editing it. So just look up Geek Therapy Network on wherever you find your podcasts, and you'll find a bunch of shows. Oh, we have a tabletop gaming show called Rolling for Change, which is awesome. And that's about every 2 weeks it's releasing, sometimes weekly. I'm pretty sporadic. I mean, we have the queer comics podcast. We have one called Hero Nation, which is about diversity and superheroes. Lots of cool stuff.
Oh, I love it. That's great. So geektherapy.com, not .org. I accidentally linked that last
.com.
time.
No, .com.
It's .com.
I owned it for years, and then it was one of those things where I was like, money is tight. No one's gonna touch that thing. I'll pick it up later. Boom, somebody picked it up.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
That's the way. Well, I definitely appreciate you. Do we have any more questions from people? But I appreciate you coming on here for sure. I appreciate you taking the time. And I know that it's not necessarily the most popular show on Twitch yet. But I do post these to YouTube, and once I do, I'll make sure to tag you in those so that you can
awesome.
share them and go back and look at how much of a goofball my cat is if you want.
Yes. That's the number one reason
I know. He did calm down. He's just sitting here on my desk now, just laying there. So like you couldn't have done that the whole time. That's okay.
Yeah, no. This is great. Again, I love what you're doing, and you know the comment you just made about like not the most popular show on Twitch. Like, not everybody is. That's like, I think it's so important for everybody to share their story.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not about the numbers. It's not about like, you never know who you're gonna touch, who's gonna show up, who's gonna see that, when they're gonna see it. Just the fact that you're doing it matters so much, and I thank you, and thank you for having me.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, flamingo. All right, hang on. I have something really cool. I got this flamingo from my sister because they were moving and they didn't want it anymore. I love this flamingo right here because it roars, which is not the normal flamingo sound.
Personally, I've never seen a real flamingo. So
Pretty sure they don't make that noise. But Bite Mark wanted me to show this off. I think I've shown it off every stream since I got it. Because I just absolutely love it. And my child stole it the other night, and I stole it back from him. I was like, no, this is Mom's friend.
I mean, if dinosaurs are birds perfect. And flamingos are birds, it might roar.
See?
I don't know.
See, it could. You never know.
I've never met a flamingo. I don't know. Could be.
Yeah, never know. Okay, well,
that's a good way to wrap up a stream.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, give me just a second. I'm gonna disconnect with Josué, and then I will be back. I'm not quite sure what we're playing yet. Maybe some StarCraft.